Welcome to MAYLA'S Bedtime Stories. Many people were read bedtime stories in their childhood and even as adults. Many do not want to go to bed without them, and for some, bedtime stories are induced sleeping lullabies. On my page, you will listen to some bedtime stories collections you may have or haven't come across before. Our story for tonight is titled Little Starfish, Carlos, written by Lemons and Letters. Starfish Carlos was wide awake all night. He simply couldn't sleep. On this summer night, his eyes didn't want to get tired at all. He was lying at the bottom of a small, beautiful bay. The water was shallow and warm. All his friends from the bay were already asleep. Only a few shells occasionally burrowed into the soft sandy bottom until they disappeared completely. In doing so, they left a churning cloud of sand in the otherwise clear water. Carlos looked up. When it was completely calm in the bay and no waves moved over him, he could see the night sky. From time to time, he could make out very small bright dots in the sky, but the sky was far too far away from the seabed. There must be a way to see the stars better, he thought to himself. Carlos imagined the beauty of the sparkling night sky and continued to ponder all night. It wasn't until dawn that he finally fell asleep. Water splashed in all directions as Sally, the young dolphin girl, leaped joyfully through the waves. "Watch out!" she shouted euphorically. Accompanied by thunderous applause, she chased through the wild surf of the ocean. A whole school of fish had joined her. Together, they put on quite a show for the spectators. An old sea turtle sat on the shore of the bay alongside a few onlookers. It stretched its long neck far out of its shell and tried to catch a few warming rays of sunshine. She needed to recover from the exhausting journey. "I wish I had the dolphin girl's energy too," she thought to herself a little wistfully. Lost in the thought, the turtle looked at her own reflection. As just she was about to take a closer look to herself, she suddenly spotted a small red starfish under the surface of the water. It seemed to be just lifting off the sandy seabed towards the surface. Curious, the turtle came a little closer and stretched out its neck towards the little starfish. "You are a really pretty splash of color," she greeted him in a friendly manner. "What's the starfish doing up here? You'd better dive down quickly, otherwise the seagulls will spot you and you'll end up on their breakfast plate." Somewhat amused and happy to be distracted from her own musings, the turtle looked at the little starfish as it very carefully tried to glide directly on the surface of the water. "What's that supposed to be?" asked the turtle, puzzled. "I'm training to float up and down so that I can see the starry sky better at night. Everything is far too blurred when I viewed from below," explained Carlos The old turtle nodded in agreement. Carlos told her that he often couldn't sleep at night, that he tries to see the bright dots in the dark sky. I would love to have such a sparkling sight down here in the water, Carlos said sadly. Unfortunately, the old turtle had no idea how to help Carlos. However, she suggested that he keep an eye on him while he did his exercises. No seagull is going to mess with me, she said, stretching her neck towards the sky. Sally the dolphin girl came by and heard about Carlos' special wish. "Oh, Carlos, just get over it," she said somewhat indifferently. "You were born in the sea and not on land. There's no starry sky down in the sea." In the evening, the turtle said goodbye again, and Carlos lay back on the soft, sandy bottom of the bay. But suddenly, he became aware of something bright and shiny. It was very close to him. As he got closer, he could see that a mussel shell was causing this beautiful shine. The mother of pearl inside the shell was illuminating by the bright moonlight. Now Carlos had an idea. "I'll just make my own starry sky down here." Full of enthusiasm, Carlos was now busy every day collecting shells, glittering stones, and shards of polished glass, and then scattering them on the bottom of the bay. Meanwhile, something was brewing in the sky. A thick blanket of clouds seemed to keep the stars and the moon under lock and key for weeks. It was now darker in the bay than ever before. The other sea creatures just shook their heads as they watched Carlos at work. They murmured as they swam past, "What a waste of time! What has he got into his head? It can't possibly work." And indeed, nothing did. The bay remained dark day after day, and Carlos was disappointed. His plan didn't seem to be working. All his efforts was in vain, he whispered dejectedly. Sadly, he buried himself in the sand, but something wonderful happened that night. The old turtle sat on the shore and watched as the last cloud slipped past the moon. "So he made it after all," she said enthusiastically, and watched as the bay suddenly began to sparkle in its most beautiful facets. And there you go, everybody, the story of Carlos the starfish. Good night, sweet dreams, and sleep tight. See you next time.